And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:08 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in the state of Texas.
John, it's time to move over, Marshawn Lynch.
Hey, you stay your ass off of Hagenberger.
Because Gavin Newsom is hosting a brand new podcast solo. What happened to politicking? Nobody knows.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast.
How about do your job?
He wants to do everything but do his job.
And this is going to be anything but the ordinary politician podcast. I'm going to be talking to people.
Don't you have like massive wildfire emergencies to deal with and begging the government for $40 billion?
When he was lieutenant governor, didn't he do a weekend television show on Current? And now that he's governor, this is the second podcast that he's started?
That TV show he did on Current TV, his most frequent guest at the time was Elon Musk.
I'm going to be talking to people directly that I disagree with, as well as people I look up to.
Oh, maybe you can get booked on there.
I don't think I'll be getting a booking invitation.
But more important than anything else, I'll be talking directly with you, the listener. Real conversations. What's going on with the cost of eggs? What are the impacts, real impacts to you around tariffs? What power does an executive order really have?
I guess what Gavin Newsom is trying to tell us is that running the state of California, a state that he likes to prop up as larger than 22 state populations combined, is not a full-time job.
And he thinks that this is going to appeal to the youth. Go back to what the Democratic consultants are telling them about the last election. They're saying that Trump won because he went on the Undertaker podcast, and he went on with, what's his face? Rogan, Jim Rogan. That's right. Joe Rogan.
Joe
Excuse
Rogan.
me. Jim Rogan did the sports. I don't know if he has a podcast or not.
Everybody does.
In fact, I think he's doing the news out here in the Coachella Valley. Anyway, the point is, if you listen to the Democratic consultants, Trump got the youth vote to turn out for him because of the podcasts. But what they don't understand is it wasn't Trump hosting his own podcast that attracted his own audience. It was Trump going into other successful existing programs and reaching out to those social networks. So Newsom, of course, is doing it all wrong.
And what's really going on inside of Doge? Look, there's an onslaught.
Maybe Elon will come on for that one. They're old buddies.
I don't think so.
Look, there's an onslaught of information that we take in. So let's take it to the sources without the typical political mumbo jumbo. In the first few weeks, we're going to be sitting down with some of the biggest leaders and architects in the MAGA movement.
I can't wait to see who says yes to be on this podcast.
Well, there's a lot of people who crave attention.
This is Gavin Newsom.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. This podcast is not called like politicking. It's called This is Gavin Newsom.
Okay, let's take some bets right now. Which Republicans are so craved for attention that they'd be willing to go on this podcast?
I would say the ones that also have their own podcast, like Ted Cruz.
Okay, I'm going to put Matt Gaetz at the top of the list.
Oh, yeah. Although, does he count? Because he's technically not a congressman anymore.
That's true. But I bet you he'll be one of the first bookings. Plus, I think he's in San Diego now for One American News. I bet you Nikki Haley will do it.
Maybe they'll do a hair comparison.
Oh, yeah. Who has more volume? Nikki Haley will do it. The Lincoln Project pedos. Who else?
I think that's going to be it.
That's what I think, too.
I guarantee it won't be anybody from the state of California that knows anything about California politics, because those are issues Gavin doesn't want to talk about.
Hagenberger.
And what happened to Marshawn?
If I were booking that podcast and I could create some spice, how about putting Kevin Kiley on there? How about putting Tom McClintock or James Gallagher, someone who has the receipts? I would love to hear that conversation.
No, he wants to talk about national issues and prop himself on a national stage. Gavin Newsom does not want to talk about California issues.
No. He'll bring some national advocate for restricting abortion rights on, and they'll have a conversation about abortion. That's what he's going to do. It's going to be a lot of people you've never heard of and a lot of people in Congress or formerly from Congress who crave attention.
This is Gavin Newsom.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, the failure of Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is not just dominating the headlines locally, it's now starting to dominate the headlines nationally. Don't forget, Karen Bass, before she was mayor, was a longtime member of Congress and was on Joe Biden's short list to be his vice president. Now she is the failed mayor of a failed city, and her most recent round of scandals related to the mishandling of the fires, Randy, that's making the networks.
It even made CBS Mornings with Gayle King as they are talking on a national stage about the failings of Karen Bass. The national cameras came back even after the fires came out because what's going on in L.A., it is noteworthy. For more, here's CBS Mornings.
We're going to begin this hour with new reporting on the continuing fallout from last month's devastating Los Angeles wildfires. Fallout is a word here. On Friday.
Did she get paid out for the whole contract for that show with Charles Barkley on CNN that lasted for 10 minutes?
I hope so.
Who thought that was going to be a good idea?
Maybe the same people who think Gavin Newsom hosting a podcast is a good idea.
And the brilliant executive who put that together came out with the best name for that show, King Charles.
What is it with these TV executives who come up with these harebrained schemes? Here's a great idea. We have a woman who's successful in morning television, and we have a man who is a successful basketball player who's a successful basketball broadcaster. Let's put them together and do a news show on cable. And then let's open up a restaurant and let's do pizza and put orange peel chicken on top.
This is what executives in the television world as well as the radio world do. They don't have any actual ideas, so they try to mishmash things that don't go together. I should know the first radio show I worked on was Adam Carolla when they threw Danny Bonaducci on it. And I love Bonaducci, but that was the worst pairing of all time. Here we go.
On Friday, L.A. Mayor, that's Karen Bass, abruptly dismissed the city's fire chief over how she handled the crisis. But that is causing a whole lot of backlash from those who say it's the mayor who should have done a better job in this situation.
Now, I got to ask this again. Did Karen Bass think firing the fire chief was going to make all of this go away?
Well, I think it's a component of it. She thought she needed to fire the fire chief, and then Steve Soberoff is going to take the next pink slip.
Jonathan Vigliotti has been on this story.
Oh, that's the guy. Jonathan Vigliotti is the guy from CBS News that when the fires broke out, started asking Karen Bass some very tough questions at those press conferences, which got her to yell at him and then to cancel the press conferences.
She didn't like that.
Jonathan Vigliotti has been on this story. He's been relentless, and he has got the latest for us now.
And we're having a really hard time.
Oh, he talked to Tracy Park, did he?
Good.
Tracy Park is getting a national profile because of Karen Bass's ineptitude.
Hey, if Rick Caruso doesn't run for mayor, if he decides to run for governor, we're going to need a candidate to run for mayor. And there's no one at the city level who's better than her.
And we're having a really hard time right now getting a comprehensive operational plan.
Councilwoman Tracy Park represents what's left of fire-ravaged Pacific Palisades.
Who's the head of that operational plan?
Well, it's a good question.
So Tracy Park is taking this opportunity to throw the mayor under the bus because not only does she looking out for her constituents and Karen Bass has failed them, but she feels fairly slighted that Karen Bass fired the fire chief and didn't even tell her about it. She brought Hugo on stage, but not Tracy Park. Didn't want to tell her.
Didn't she find out from media booking requests?
Yes. Hopefully one of those wasn't Trisha.
Who's the head of that operational plan?
Well, it's a good question. And I think that's one of the challenges that we're having.
The buck stops with me.
No, it doesn't.
No. The buck doesn't stop with you. You're wearing a shirt that says "I'm was stupid," and you fire who you regard as stupid.
I am in charge.
LA
No, you're not.
Boy, everything she says is a lie.
LA Mayor Karen Bass appeared accountable while at the same time holding others responsible for the city's lack of preparation.
I just met with
I don't think he did this on purpose, but when I first heard this story and I wasn't 100% paying attention, I could have sworn that reporter said Karen Bass is a cannibal.
I thought the same thing.
LA
Maybe it's one of those he didn't feel like doing a second take, because if people interpret it that way, that's fine.
Well, maybe Karen Bass was the one that ate Joe Biden's relative in the war.
LA Mayor Karen Bass appeared accountable while at the same time holding others.
It sounds like she's saying cannibal.
Yeah, it does, and that's the second time.
LA Mayor Karen Bass appeared accountable while at the same time holding others responsible for the city's lack of preparation.
I just met with Chief Crowley and removed her as fire chief.
Couldn't fire her, though, because she's got protections.
She's just been demoted, technically.
Last Friday, Bass fired Crowley, saying in part the former chief failed to deploy 1,000 off-duty firefighters. But a city ordinance makes it clear in emergency preparation and response, the mayor's office is the director and issues and enforces rules, regulations, orders, including the deployment of additional personnel.
You don't say.
And where was she?
Ghana.
That's right.
While Bass was out of the country, the acting mayor declared a local emergency around 5 p.m., nearly 7 hours after the Palisades fire first ignited.
And you know how Marquise Harris Dawson yesterday was going off? I never heard from Crowley. Well, Monica Rodriguez has emails from him talking to the fire chief the day of the fire before the fire broke. So, yes, he was aware of what was going on, and he's full of crap, too.
And let's go ahead and refer back to reports that say that the fire chief kept copious notes of all of her correspondence with the mayor and the acting mayor all through the fires. The fact that she was fired and that was cited as the reason is going to lead to a massive lawsuit.
Off-duty fire crews were then called into action around 6 p.m. Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez is now calling for Crowley to be reinstated.
So if the chief didn't fail.
So 2 members of the city council are going national to throw Karen Bass under the bus.
They all understand what is going on politically, and they know that if not Steve Soberoff, but the other
Caruso.
one, Rick Caruso. Boy, my memory's shot today. If Rick
Because of the
Caruso,
cannibal thing.
if Rick Caruso doesn't run for mayor, if he runs for governor or for whatever reasons decides to take a pass on running for any office next time around, that will create an opportunity for someone to run for mayor. And who better to run for mayor than whoever becomes the chief foil to Karen Bass on the council?
So if the chief didn't fail the public, then why is the mayor going after her?
You know, that's something for the mayor to answer.
Bass has also yet to clarify what she knew when.
Looking back, would you have taken that trip overseas?
No.
Last month,
She thinks that this is a good look at this point. Well, I've learned from my mistakes and we're moving on, but I'm not really the one at fault here. Others are, so let's go ahead and start the blame game.
Looking back, would you have taken that trip overseas?
No.
Last month, she told me she regretted leaving.
By the way, I would just like to point this out to Jonathan Migliotti and all the national reporters that are looking into Karen Bass. You might want to look a few years ago when she got some BS degree from USC for nothing.
Oh,
By
yeah.
the same person who who was indicted with Mark Ridley Thomas.
From the same school. It's the USC Master's Department or Master's Program in Social Work.
And then while you're at it, you might want to look at what the hell happened when Karen Bass's guns got stolen that they were supposedly locked in a gun safe.
Yeah, there's a lot that just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Last month, she told me she regretted leaving to Ghana on a diplomatic trip. but last week told a local news outlet the former fire chief failed to warn her about the fire risk before leaving to Ghana. But according to Noah,
that was when she was on with Alex.
That interview was one of the most disastrous interviews I've ever seen a local LA politician give.
I'm telling you, it was that interview which Alex taped on a Tuesday, released clips of, and then he posted the full thing on his YouTube on Wednesday, but was going to air on television statewide Friday night. That interview was so bad, she panicked, and that's why she fired the fire chief.
And I'm telling you, there are more people who are going to fall on the sword so Karen Bass can save herself.
But according to NOAA, fire weather watches were issued a day before Bass left for Ghana. The agency tells CBS News their briefing was attended by members of the mayor's team from emergency management and fire.
You don't say.
Does she think that there's not electronic correspondence? There's not memorialized copies of all of these interactions? Like every time you send a text message, every time you send an email, every time you send a fax, every time you convey information from one office to another, there's some sort of record of that.
Listen to this part again.
But according to NOAA, fire weather watches were issued a day before Bass left for Ghana. The agency tells CBS News their briefing was attended by members of the mayor's team from emergency management and fire. The mayor's office said.
So Karen Bass's own internal staffers went to the briefing about how bad the wind was going to be the day before she left for Ghana. So even though she would love for everyone to believe she had no idea it was going to be so windy because Crowley never called her, her own team knew about it, and the story she does not want out there, but is seeming more like the truth every single day, is she knew it was going to be bad, and she did not care because girl need to get her party on.
And let's also not forget that she tweeted about it, or someone working for her with access to her social media accounts tweeted on her behalf, and the individual who's supposed to be the liaison between her office and the fire department was on administrative leave for making, allegedly, fake bomb threats.
The mayor's office says no members of the mayor's staff were at that briefing.
Except they were.
CBS News has confirmed these are pictures of Mayor Bass in Ghana at a cocktail party taken hours after the fire started in the Palisades.
Cheers! My city's on fire.
There is no angle to this story that we're going to learn about that's going to look good for her. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
You know, I subscribe to the apps of a lot of our local news channels, and I think the first way I found out about the fire is I got one of those alerts from the Fox 11 app. I bet those alerts were going to her phone when the fire broke out, and she was still partying down and talking to dignitaries.
Oh, she knew exactly what the risk was. She just didn't want that to get in the way of her party because Cinderella had to go to the ball.
There are many, many valid questions concerning the lead up to the fire, the actual fire, and the response to the fire.
Sounds like this is just the beginning.
I think we have a long road ahead, and I think that...
I don't think Tracy's getting invited for Sunday brunch anytime soon.
No, she's not.
And I think that there is going to be a lot of accounting to do when we get those answers.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Jonathan Vigliotti in Los Angeles.
Still a lot of questions and a lot of finger pointing.
Just paraphrasing the mayor.
Yeah.
She said, stops with me.
Yeah. And then you see that she might have gotten warnings before. In writing, it said. I mean, it's a very complicated story on many, many levels.
Well, I don't know if I would say it's complicated, Gail.
No. That is the most charitable way you can frame it.
Jonathan does an amazing job of
Yes,
untangling it and laying it out and making it plain.
I love how Jonathan lays out the timeline, and every time he uses a soundbite from the mayor or from official, but that's not what we uncovered.
Yeah.
It's what we do at CBS.
Well
I love
done.
that.
Keep at it, guys. She can't stand you, and we appreciate everything you're doing.
It's just getting worse and worse and worse for LA's embattled mayor, Mother Goose. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed yesterday's show and you want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is go to kabc.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube or get that handy-dandy KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts, including yesterday, where we reacted to the fact that Pamela Price has a podcast now.
Check out Pamela Price Unfiltered. I'm Pamela Price, your host, and that's where we get to correct the record.
Boy, everyone has a podcast.
Later on, we have an update about her, and it is fantastic.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Look at this. 790 KABC welcomes VIB featuring Foreigner at the Canyon in Agora Hills on March 2nd. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com, and you can use promo code KABC to get 2-for-1 tickets. Right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to this incredible acoustic performance of Foreigner. Tickets furnished by The Canyon, where music meets the soul. Good luck dialing.
One local assemblyman, Rick Chavez Burr, an impersonation I am not going to do today because my voice is already a little scratchy, and if I impersonate him, I'll be out the rest of the week. He is supporting legislation that would essentially make it illegal to defend yourself if you're the victim of a crime.
It's called AB 1333. It was written by Rick Chavez Burr. He introduced it on the 21st, and now he's trying to walk back his bill. But let me go ahead and just read what it says, at least in the Legislative Council's Digest. Existing law defines homicide as the unlawful killing of a human being without malice aforethought as specified. Existing law establishes certain circumstances in which homicide is justifiable. This bill would eliminate certain circumstances under which homicide is justifiable, including, among others, in defense of a habitation or property. That's legal speak for if someone breaks into your home, Rick Chavez Burr says you can't shoot him.
And think about this for a second. He is regarded as being one of the moderate Democrats on criminal justice issues, and this is what he thinks. If this is what he thinks, now you know what the rest of them think.
The bill would additionally clarify circumstances in which homicide is not justifiable, including, among others, when a person uses more force than necessary to defend against a danger. How exactly do you quantify that when you are fearing for your life because somebody broke into your home?
If someone breaks into your home, you wake up, you discover an intruder in your house, you think they're there to kill you, and they're, of course, going to deny that they're there to kill you. They're going to say that they thought that they were in the wrong house or they were just there to rob you, but they certainly weren't there to kill you. And you're going to get in trouble and you're going to get prosecuted if you end up shooting that person and that person dies because you thought that they were a threat to your life.
Once this came out, people like Jonathan Hatami started tweeting about it, and Rick Chavez Burr got real scared, deleted the original tweet promoting AB 1333, and tweeted this out yesterday at 3 o'clock p.m. AB 1333 was, and I'm not doing the voice either, AB 1333 was never intended to limit a crime victim's right to defend yourself like your family or your home. That's literally what the bill is.
If you read the text of the bill or the summary of the bill, he says you're misrepresenting it.
I just read the summary of the bill.
And he says you're misrepresenting it.
He says the goal was to prevent wannabe vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse from provoking violence and claiming self-defense after the fact. We will amend the bill to make this crystal clear. As of right now, he has yet to amend the bill.
And, of course, it's causing Republicans in Sacramento to go nuts.
Including in the Central Valley, where this is ticking a nerve or two. Let's hear one of their assemblymen react to Rick Chavez Burr's bill, because, of course, Rick Chavez Burr's not going to do any interviews about this. This is blowing up in his face. For more, here's KC in the Central Valley.
We start with this. A new California bill would prevent homeowners from defending themselves against criminals unless
This is the last thing Gavin Newsom needs is the California legislature once again showing the country why we're insane.
No, but the only reason that he would veto something like this is because he wants to get elected in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania.
unless they believe their lives are in danger. Central Valley Assemblyman David Tongipaw says if Assembly Bill 1333 passes, the new bill would put more people in danger. KC24's Jason Toktajian joins us in studio to break down the bill. Jason.
The bill actually encourages crime victims to run for their lives.
Well, it encourages criminals to break into your house when you're there. Because if you know that the people can't defend themselves, then they're just sitting ducks.
That's right. AB 1333 basically restricts self-defense, mandates that you retreat in the event of a crime, and does away with protections for the use of force.
It mandates you retreat.
Who co-sponsored this with him? The French army?
Assemblyman David Tongipaw says this bill would put Californians in danger.
I'm calling it's a criminal first agenda.
Representative David Tongipaw is questioning the motive behind Assembly Bill 1333, making self-defense during crimes like home break-ins illegal.
If somebody broke into somebody's house,
Who was advocating for this exactly?
This is what the Democratic majority believes in. They think if someone's robbing you, if someone breaks into your house and you defend your property, you defend yourself, then that's classist and racist.
That individual, the homeowner, had to do everything within their power to either leave, flee, and prove that the individual is trying to kill them if they used necessary self-defense and took that individual out.
The Merced County...
We'd like to charge the homeowners with murder.
And remember, we did a story yesterday about an elderly, disabled Asian man who was at home and was exercising in his backyard. Some homeless guy broke into the house, trashed his house, stole the keys to his car, tried to steal the car. The disabled man fires a gun into the air to try to scare the guy away. It worked. The guy was arrested, and now they're waiting to see if the disabled homeowner is going to have charges filed against him.
The Merced County Sheriff can't believe AB 1333 was introduced at all.
That bill, to me, is too ambiguous to protect the people that actually need protecting.
He says the bill would make his job difficult.
Now we've got to second guess somebody that was in fear for their life.
Assemblyman Tongipaw says the bill, if passed, will put the burden of proof on the homeowner instead of the crook.
What it really did...
Why, of course. Let's make life even harder for the victim of a crime.
But this is what the assembly people and senators in Sacramento believe.
What it really did was shift the burden of intent from the criminal to the homeowner. And they had to prove that they did everything that they could to protect themselves and that the criminal breaking in did not have the intent to kill them.
A Fresno defense...
Next, you're going to find out that California is going to make it illegal to buy those signs that say trespassers will be shot.
Oh, yeah. That's art that's not allowed.
A Fresno defense attorney explains why Assemblyman Rick Zabur introduced AB 1333.
He's simply trying to prevent situations like the one with Kyle Rittenhouse, where someone can go out and create a violent situation and then later claim self-defense.
Wait. The jury acquitted him. Those people that he shot were trying to kill him, and he shot them in self-defense, and they died. Too bad, so sad. If you don't want to get shot, don't try to kill someone.
As a justification.
But King admits the bill's language isn't clear.
It would also not be justifiable if you use more force than necessary to defend against a danger. Now, that's some pretty ambiguous language. What does that mean?
Assemblyman Tongipa tells me he and his office are ready to fight this bill if it passes. Now live in studio, Jason Taktagian, KC24 Local News and Matters.
Now, at the beginning here, this has only just been introduced. The first hearing in committee is going to be March 24th. And believe you me, there's going to be a lot of people covering this because this is insanity. It'll be fun to see if Rick Chavez Burr bows to the pressure and pulls this bill before its first hearing, because this is complete insanity.
Well, these people are nuts, and he's a communist, and anyone who votes for this is a communist. Because if you support this law and you support the sentiments behind this law, then you fundamentally do not believe in private property. Either you have the ability to own private property and to protect it and keep it for yourself, or you don't. And if you make it illegal to defend your property when someone wants to take it from you, or someone wants to do harm to you on your property when they don't have permission to be there, then there is no such thing as private property. Everything is public property. If the crooks have just as much of a right to be in your house as you, then that is a communist society. That is a communist world, because all of the property that exists on the planet is communal. Let's call it what it is. This guy is a radical. This guy does not believe in private property. This guy is pro-criminal, and he wants you to die. Because if he wants to take away your right to defend yourself when a dangerous situation is presenting itself in your house from someone who's not supposed to be there, then he's wishing death upon you and your family. What a jerk. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Nicholas writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com with a message for Assemblyman Rick Chavez Burr. AB 1333 is treason. You are committing treason against your constituents.
I can't argue with that. We have 2 more hours coming up on today's program. The Fix California Hour is next. Fox 11's Alex Michelson joins us. Don't you go anywhere. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC.